Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Here on this Thursday, getting ready for another edition of Thursday Night Football. Should be a great matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. We'll have a full preview of that show. Also talk some NBA with Carlin Gay of Sporting News. He'll join us to discuss the very latest. How about the college football championship games coming up this weekend? Our weekly guest, Paul Stone, is back with us here on the show to give some predictions and insight into that. Naturally, we'll cover everything happening in the world of sports and sports betting, of course, and also hear from some of the participants, coaches, and give you the latest in sports betting news. And it wouldn't be a sports betting show with a non-sports betting story, because that's what the prediction markets say that they are. And guess what? Fanatics is on board, not just with sports betting and gear and sports cards, but now they are involved in the prediction markets as well. Fanatics has decided to launch in 10 states. They'll be live in 24 states by the end of the week. You have to be 21 years or older to end up using their prediction market service. They made a debut in Alaska, Delaware, Hawaii, Idaho, Maine, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Rhode Island, South Dakota, and Utah. 9 more states today. And guess who else will be involved? The state of California and the state of Texas. Why is this significant? Because prediction markets are operating in states where sports betting is not legal. Meanwhile, Kalshi has entered a new partnership with CNN. They made an announcement yesterday, and they will display Kalshi's real-time probabilities and broadcast, including a live on-screen ticker. Kalshi, of course, lets you go ahead and make financial predictions on elections. That's where Kalshi really got started here. So CNN will participate with a partnership here. You'll see Kalshi active and on your CNN screens now and in the future. What will we see tonight with the Lions and Cowboys? One team is hot, one team is not. The hot team, Dallas Cowboys. The team that's falling apart seems to be the Detroit Lions. Right now, FanDuel has the Lions as 3-point favorites tonight, total of 54.5. Injuries, a big story in this one, too. Wide receiver of the Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who left the Thanksgiving game very early last week, is questionable to play tonight. Lions have a myriad of injuries, by the way, on the defensive side as well. Maybe some gadget plays potentially even in store. Let's get a preview of the game with the head coaches, Dan Campbell and Brian Schottenheimer.
You may not use those plays again the rest of the season. Now, sometimes they'll come back up because of the structure of the defense. So if you've got them and you're getting first downs, you want to use what you got. It's as simple as that. You're just trying to move the ball and play football, you know. And like it's been done to us, that's happened, you know. But there's no ill will about it. You're just trying to play football, you know. And you know, we're trying to score points. We're trying to eliminate points. That's what they're trying to do. They're going to try to score as many points as they can. I mean, there's no ill will on either side of that, man. You know, you got to try to score. You got to try to eliminate points on defense.
You never take a breath in this business this time of year, man. When it's December football and when it rolls around, you know, you just stay focused on the grind. You love the grind. You hate the grind, but it's part of the deal. And, you know, most important thing for me is, you know, finish our prep for Detroit. It's going to be a very physical game. You know, we have a play style that we're proud of. They certainly have an established play style as well. So first things first, we want to play well Thursday night.
Making sure I heard that correctly. He said, I love the grind and I hate the grind in the same sentence. Is that what he said? Trying to follow along here. Okay, Monday Night Football. It's the Chargers and the Eagles. Quarterback situation unclear on the side of the Chargers. Justin Herbert is back on the field, although he is not doing very much after having surgery on his left hand. Herbert finally met with the media yesterday and talked about that specific surgery and what it could potentially mean for playing on Monday.
Did you get any information on what exactly the surgery was, or like a plate, screws, or something sort of hardware put in there?
Yeah, I think it was a plate and a few screws. So, I don't know the exact medical terminology or what exactly went on, but you know, he said it went well and got it stabilized, and he was happy with how it went.
Do you still feel like you're preparing as if you're playing like that?
Am I preparing as if I'll play?
Yeah, are you still preparing that way, like you play like that?
Yeah, that's that's the plan, is to prepare as if I'm going to play, and you know, see how the next couple of days goes, and do everything I can to be out there for the team and for the guys out there.
Give you an update on that line tomorrow for Monday Night Football. Meanwhile, Giannis Antetokounmpo going to miss a couple of weeks with a right calf strain amidst rumors that he would like to be traded. Doc Rivers said he has not asked for a trade. We'll touch on this with Carlin Gay coming up in about 10 minutes. All right, Jamal Murray, he's good for one of these every couple of years, right? A 50-point game. It's kind of strange how he just busts out with one of these every once in a while. He did it last night against Indiana. 10 of 11 from three-point range, 52 points. The Nuggets beat the Pacers 135-120. And Nikola Jokic did not have a triple-double in this game. 24 points, 13 rebounds, only 8 assists. Indiana's having a tough year without Halliburton, 4 and 18. Jamal Murray, very funny post-game, by the way, after a 52-point game, got a lot of calls from his friends, which he shared with the media.
1 second, my guys over here, they owe me some words, so I got everybody here.
What's up, brother? What are you doing? Outstanding game. What is going on?
Do Mans have something to say?
Holy smokes. Nah, that's how you're feeling, bro? It's crazy. Yeah. Hey, I'll be the first to say it. Yo, Jamal, you're the best, brother. Yeah, Jamal. Best to ever do it. Best to ever do it. You already know. You're the best. And barely any free throws. I'm not gonna lie, you start shooting the free throws, you're scoring 70 yes. Bro.
I'm waiting for all Mans.
5 free throws. You did a great job, man.
Thank you, Tom. That's all I needed.
I get those FaceTimes after my show here. People congratulate me the same way. Dallas Mavericks, congrats to them. Wow, rare win last night. 5.5-point underdogs. They beat the Heat 118-108. Cooper Flagg with 22 points and 6 rebounds. Anthony Davis, 17 points, 17 rebounds. Norman Powell did not play for the Heat. Cooper Flagg, after the game, says they really haven't had a ton of leads late, so it was good to see them closing one out.
What was it like playing with the lead?
With a lead? Oh, man, it was different. No, it was good. I think, obviously, like you hinted at, we haven't had, many games where we've been up or had a lot of leads. So, it feels good, build a little bit of a cushion and, be able to just kind of get a bunch of guys through and, just kind of find something, let a lot of guys, get in there and feel it. So I think it was good for us.
Coming or a disappointment of being in that position?
I felt like it was an opportunity that slipped for us to be able to have that gratification of winning a game where we weren't making shots. We made a good comeback there at the end, but through 3 quarters, there was more discouragement from our missed shots that was affecting our concentration level and resolve defensively.
Right now, the San Antonio Spurs are relishing in a 2-point win over the Orlando Magic. De'Aaron Fox had 31 points, 114-112. Karl Anthony Towns, 35 points, 18 rebounds. Knicks beat the Hornets, 119-104. Mike Brown says, good to see Towns busting out in a big win.
We did a nice job protecting the paint. They had 40 points in the paint. We offensive rebounded. We had 30-second chance points on 13 offensive rebounds, and those are 2 areas that we're missing tonight. So for our guys to lock in and focus on those 2 things, it was huge.
Just staying with it. I think they made a great run in the second quarter. Came out the third, had a nice little push, and I think just staying with it the whole 48 minutes.
You've had such a great early season, efficient on offense. How about the way you've been able to contribute with the steals and the blocks, with the stocks? You're among the league leaders in the stocks category.
Just trying to do whatever to help the team win. Trying to be aggressive and make plays for my teammates.
All right, so we got the big story, of course, in the NBA going on right now, and it has nothing to do with on-the-court related. It is Giannis Antetokounmpo not just missing time with an injury, but when he comes back, will he be on a new team? Carlin Gay from Sporting News will weigh in on that and a whole lot more. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on the Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, it was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts, those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Big story percolating in the NBA, which is the potential move of Giannis Antetokounmpo to another team. Could it actually happen? Let's bring in Carlin Gay of Sporting News, who will be following the story very closely. Happy holidays to you, Carlin. Thanks for coming on the show. Before we actually get your opinion on Giannis potentially moving, it appears that Doc Rivers has his own opinion on this whole story and basically debunking everything that is being reported, which doesn't happen that often. Take a listen.
So here we go again. There's been no conversations. I want to make it clear just I would say one more time, but for the 50th time, it clearly is not getting the One Network for sure. Giannis has never asked to be traded, ever. I can't make that more clear.
He's been around a long time, Carlin. I tend to believe Doc Rivers. Like, this is one of those situations where I want to believe him. There's a part of me that says, would Doc play semantics and say the agent did, but Giannis didn't? Like, I can't see that happening. I want to believe this story here. And I also am a big fan of smaller market teams in sports. And to me, Carlin, if this ends up happening, I don't think there's a recovery for the Bucks. Like, ever. I mean, it was hard enough to find this superstar in the last 10 years to get him to play and stay. I would be very concerned if I was a Bucks fan that this would happen.
Yeah, I would too, right? And you hit the nail around the head. Guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo don't grow on trees. Like, it's very hard to find talented players that are one of the 3 best players in the NBA right now, in my opinion, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And by the way, he won a championship there. So he proved that while, he could be one of the best players in the league, he also was able to get them over the hump in a small market and win a championship. And I will say this about the Milwaukee Bucks. I have no idea whether or not Giannis, asked for a trade or his agent. We could figure that out over the next couple of weeks. This story's not going anywhere. December 15th is the date where, everybody that signed a contract in the offseason will be eligible to be traded. That's a date where things really can start happening. Right now, it's just all talk, right? Like, people are just speculating. So move that aside. I will say on the Bucks front, to your point about being a small market, they haven't acted like a small market at all in having Giannis Antetokounmpo. Since 2020, they've made 17 trades to try and improve this roster. And that includes guys like Drew Holiday, Damian Lillard, and Kyle Kuzma. Now, you could poo-poo about the last 2, right? Like Kyle Kuzma, meh. Damian Lillard, meh. It was a good idea at the time, right? A lot of teams wanted Damian Lillard. Injuries happened. It didn't work out the way that it wanted to. That they wanted to. But the fact of the matter is that they were trying, and if they proved that, they will still go out and try. They did that this last offseason, getting Miles Turner. Is he the piece that they expected to have to get them over the hump? Probably not. But as I sit here right now, if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan, I'm saying, like, I'm going to trust my front office. I'm going to trust my ownership, and to try as best as they can to not only keep Giannis, but to build a contender around him, because that's been the history since 2020.
Yeah, and I agree. Trying is good. They got Lillard at the end of the line. And my concern still would be, Carlin, that they would never be able, even with all the trades, they would never be able to get a megastar of any kind like this if they were to lose Giannis. But your point is well taken, too. I mean, he did win a championship with them. How do you look him in the face as an organization also and say, hey, look, we're not going to oblige if you do want to trade? It's a very, very tough spot to be in for the Bucks. All right, so last night, Jamal Murray, I was joking about this earlier. You probably could quantify it more. It feels like once every year or once every couple of years, we get a Jamal Murray, like, 50-point game. And then you don't get any 30s, really, like the rest of the season. But this was his game last night, unconscious from outside the line, 135 to 120. Nuggets are right in the mix, of course, to potentially get to a Western Conference Finals or even win a championship. Indiana's having a horrendous season. I didn't think one player would be this much of an impact, but apparently it is with Halliburton out. 135 to 120. What did you make of this one?
Listen, I'll put it right on Jamal Murray. The spotlight is on him. In my opinion, there are two teams in the Western Conference, and we're all waiting for that Western Conference Finals. The Thunder are going to be there. We know that. And the Nuggets are going to be that other team that takes them on. And then it's going to be a great 7-game series, providing both teams are healthy. We got a great 7-game series out of them the last time around. Right? The Thunder had to squeak by, and really that was their toughest series until they got to the finals of the entire playoffs. Like, if they don't go through that mess with the Denver Nuggets, I'm talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't know that they're going to be built to get past what they had to do to get past the Pacers in the finals, because they were down 2-1 in that final series to the Indiana Pacers and had their backs against the wall. People forget that because they obviously end up winning the championship. The winners win, write history. But the Denver Nuggets have a chance here with a very healthy Jamal Murray to be the team to upset the Thunder. They have one loss all season long, but you put me in a 7-game series with the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic and a healthy Jamal Murray, and I think that causes problems for the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is the best season Murray's ever had. He's never been an all-star. He's played it all in the regular season. He's doing that right now, shooting over 50% from the field for the first time in his career, over 50% from the three-point range for the first time in his career. Here, high points, he's making it easier for Nikola Jokic. I think this is the season that Jamal is an all-star, and I think this is the team that if you're a Thunder fan, you have to be afraid of. You want to see the Nuggets in the playoffs this year.
All right, if we have time, let's try to preview one game real quick in the NBA tonight, Carlin, before we let you go here. So the Warriors were doing all that complaining about that long road trip. They just are coming off a nice long homestand of 5 games, so they definitely made up for that. They're on the road tonight, getting 3.5 at Philadelphia, total of 224.5. Steph Curry out tonight for the Warriors. Any opinion on this one?
Yeah, when Steph Curry misses a game and you have Jimmy Butler playing, that gives people.
All right, we're losing Carlin there to some internet issues there, Carlin. Appreciate you coming on the show. We got to get those hamsters running in the wheel a little bit faster. Sometimes the internet is part of the show. But thanks again to Carlin Gay for coming on NewsWire. All right, let's take a quick time out here on NewsWire. We'll come back with a whole lot more, get you ready for the upcoming college football games a little bit later with Paul Stone, and also give more preview on the NFL games as well. Brady Cannon will join us in the final 30 minutes of our program. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total or going into the year with the Patriots was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's not often that we get to hear from an NFL head coach about their house being egged, but we're going to on today's show. Also, is there anything to this little skirmish with Shedeur Sanders and his teammate Jerry Jeudy on the Cleveland Browns? We'll dive into the middle of that and a whole lot more. Time now to hear from them. It's the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, well, the Philadelphia Eagles are being compared, the 2025 version, to the version of a couple of years ago. Not last year's version when they won the Super Bowl, but the version of when the team got off to such a great start and then just completely fell apart. But things did get turned around. Let's not forget, they won a Super Bowl last year. But Kevin Patullo is paying the price for this team, and especially their offense going in the tank. In fact, fans found out where he lived and unfortunately ended up egging his house. If you don't know what that means, it means they threw eggs at his actual house. Patullo did not take kindly to this and talked about it with the media yesterday.
At this point, right, we're ready to focus in winning the game. Unfortunately, it happened. I've been here for 5 years now, and it's been awesome. I mean, this is such a unique place to coach and play. It's very special. We've been to, 2 NFC Championship games. We've won at Lincoln Financial, a Super Bowl. The parade is it's an amazing atmosphere to be a coach and a player. And as coaches and players, we all know that part of our job is to handle criticism. And so it's perfectly acceptable to sit up here and talk about what's going on, how to fix it, what we're going to do going forward, and we know that. But when it involves your family, obviously crosses the line. And so that happened. And at this point, we just got to move on. We're trying to win. That's all we want to do is focus. Whether it's my family, whether it's the team, all we're trying to do together is focus on this week. We've got a long week, which has been good to have an extra day of preparation and go out to LA and beat the Chargers.
Does make sense. And by the way, why in the world would any fan take the time to do this is what I can't figure out. And don't just say it's Philadelphia. I've been there, been to games there, been on the other side of the games there too. This is a little bit over the top. Okay, Shedeur Sanders, Jerry Jeudy, teammates right now in Cleveland. They're still trying to figure things out in the offense. There was some video on the sideline on CBS showing the two of them having a little bit of a discussion in terms of how the game was going. Both players ended up meeting with the media and downplaying anything that we may have seen on TV.
Sure. The CBS cameras captured a sideline encounter between you and Jerry.
Yeah, we resolved that. We're not going to speak on that.
If you guys were cool with each other, then.
I would hope so.
What's your relationship like with Jerry? What has it been like since you've gotten here and since you've become a starter?
I would think like when I'm not playing and when I'm a starter, it's the same. You know, I wouldn't say people treat you better. You know, just that you start now. You know, like it's normal. You know.
Yeah, no, we spoke about it. We good. Yeah.
What was the conversation about? Something.
It was about a play.
Just one?
Hmm?
Just one?
Yeah.
Do those sorts of things just happen like in the heat of a game and you just talk through it afterwards? Generally?
I mean, it's emotional sport. You know, things like that happen in football.
How do you build a All right, feels like they have their issues, if there was one, resolved. Meanwhile, the Chiefs still having issues. This is a team that's in December, and they are a 500 football team. Who had that at the beginning of the season? Here's Patrick Mahomes on trying to get above 500 against Houston this week.
More than anything, we just got to execute at a higher level, and I feel like we've done a lot of good things, but at the same time, we made a lot of mistakes that we haven't been able to overcome, and so we got to be better in those bigger moments, not make those mistakes, and at the end of the day, go prove it. You got to prove it on game day, and that's something that I believe we can do.
You guys could have 3 backup linemen against Texas. Get your confidence in some of these guys that have to step in.
Yeah, I mean, they're guys that have played, and so obviously we'll go through the week and see where we're at with the guys that are a little banged up. But you got to give the respect where it's deserved, and those guys have a great defensive line, and so we'll try to do the best we can is getting the ball out of my hand, running the football, and then whenever there's shots on the field, you got to be able to hit them. And so standing in the pocket, making those throws against a really good defense.
All right, one quick note from the NFL. Darius Slay, cornerback, one-time Pro Bowl cornerback in the NFL, was released and then claimed by the Buffalo Bills. Slay says he may not end up playing with the Bills, may not report at all. It would appear that that's his best shot probably to get to the playoffs this season if he wants to do this in maybe his final year playing in the NFL or maybe next year. But as of now, that's the story there. All right, coming up next, Conference Championship weekend is upon us. And Conference USA is the first one of them all on Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Who will win this matchup between Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State? Paul Stone has the answer next.
Take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, every year I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from 3. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Nobody bats 300 anymore because the value of hitting a fly ball, which could eventually become a home run, is so much more valuable. It's when the shift in the NBA went from 2-pointers to 3-pointers. Well, if I can make 40% of my threes, I'm just going to jack threes all over the place. There's more value in that. Well, there's more value in just like ripping driver most of the time.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We're almost at the point of bowl season. I know Paul Stone getting excited for that. We got one more week to get through, and then the college football playoff and the rankings and everything else. And Paul is with us now to get into conference championship weekend. Paul, welcome back to NewsWire. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. Great to have you back here on the show. And without further ado, let's dive right in. It's the Conference USA Championship Friday night. I'm going to guess a lot of folks have not seen these two teams play all season long. Both had great years. Kennesaw State -2.5 against Jacksonville State. Feels like Kennesaw has played all close games, every game, one-score game for the last month or so. Jacksonville State played a team from my area here, Paul, and lost to to FIU, if I'm not mistaken. FIU's been a really good team this season, too. Total of 59.5, a very evenly matched game, it would appear on paper. Paul, how do you feel about this one?
Well, I'll tell you, it is an evenly matched game for sure, Craig. And I'm actually going to look at the total here. And I'm referencing the first meeting between these two teams. That was won by Jacksonville State, 35-26 over Kennesaw State. That game was actually played in Jacksonville, Alabama, not to be confused with Jacksonville, Florida. But Kennesaw State went in there as the 3-point favorite. Lost that game to Jacksonville State 35-26, but there was tons of offense in that first meeting. The teams combined for over 1,000 total yards of offense, 579 of those by Kennesaw on 90 plays. Jacksonville State ends up with 451 total yards on 56 plays. So the teams combined to average over 7 yards per play. Kennesaw, they would have scored more in the game, but they were hampered by 4 interceptions, 3 of those fairly deep in Jacksonville State territory. 2 of those interceptions, they started the play on the Jacksonville State 23. On a third of those interceptions, on a third one, they were 3rd and goal from the Jacksonville State 4. So 3 interceptions by Kennesaw State deep in Jacksonville State's territory, or they would have scored more than the 26 points there. In the first game, when you're looking at totals, you're always going to look at the number of offensive plays that you project. 146 plays in the first meeting, about 10 more than the average for a college football game this season. A formula that I use projects 149 plays on Friday night. Both these teams have been offensive-minded all season. Jacksonville State 8-3 to the over in their 11 games versus FBS opponents. Kennesaw State, after averaging just 19.4 points per game in their first 5 games, they've averaged 36 points a game in their last 7. I think we're going to see a lot of offensive fireworks. These teams play fast. They play with tempo. I like the over 60 Friday night in the Conference USA Championship game between Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State.
Certainly, Paul, that's one of the games on Friday, but one of the marquee games, of course, on Saturday, and the first one on the board has major implications for the college football playoff. First time we saw BYU play Texas Tech, it was really a blowout, more or less. I mean, Texas Tech took care of business here, but I don't think that we thought that that would be BYU's only loss all season long. It's the only thing keeping them out of the college football playoff at this point. Total 49.5 Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern for the Big 12 championship. The Red Raiders are 12.5-point favorites. A win for BYU would catapult them into the playoff. I don't think there's any question about that. But they really didn't show their worth against Texas Tech. Do they have a better shot this time around?
You know, I think they do. You know, BYU certainly is the one team in this playoff scenario, all the different playoff scenarios that we have with the teams involved. I think BYU is the one team that could really be a bid stealer, if you will, if they are able to upset Texas Tech in Arlington, Texas, as a double-digit underdog on Saturday. You know, based on the most recent playoff rankings, BYU would leapfrog Notre Dame, would seemingly eliminate both the Irish and Miami from playoff consideration. You know, I think Texas Tech, on the other hand, I think they're safe as far as the playoff, regardless of Saturday's outcome. They only have 1 loss as well. And I think the committee is very cognizant and aware of the fact that in its loss, Texas Tech played without its starting quarterback, Bayron Morton. And that's when they went to Arizona State, lost that game to the Sun Devils 26-22. So I think they'll take that into account. So I think BYU's got a little more at stake here. Obviously, they only make the playoff if they win. And I also think the Cougars, not a huge deal, but they could be energized by the fact that Kalani Sitake has apparently rejected the overtures of Penn State to become their next head coach, has indicated he intends to stay in Provo as BYU's head coach. So I think that gives them a little bit of energy. If Tech brings their A game, BYU could be in trouble. They dominated the first game, did Tech 29-7, in control from start to finish. But I like BYU. They're getting in double-digit points for the second straight time. I'll take BYU plus 12.5 to keep it a little bit closer this time around against Texas Tech.
What's interesting is you could get a little bit better odds for them to make the college football playoff than you can the money line on the game. I'm seeing plus 410 to make the playoff, and no, obviously minus 590, but a little bit of some extra juice for those of you who may think that they win the game outright. Plus 410 over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Okay, so a little bit of a stunning line for me here, Paul. And this was the one that I really wanted to ask you about here, because Ohio State has basically dominated everybody all season, especially on defense. They basically do not give up more than a touchdown in almost any game. They're only 4.5-point favorites in the Big Ten championship. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, neutral site. Total of 47.5, a conference championship game, Paul, with a 47. That's pretty low in college football, all things considered. But man, what is this line telling us going into Saturday night? Can Indiana pull this off and be the number one seed in the college football playoff?
Well, I'll tell you, at one book on Sunday, Craig, the book opened Ohio State as a 6.5-point favorite in this game in Las Vegas. So it shows you that the public has bet, taking money on the Hoosiers clearly to this point. Ohio State money might show between now and Saturday night. But I'll start off by offering that I think even though we've played 12 games and both these teams undefeated at 12-0, we've played the complete regular season, I still think there's a little bit of mystery about both of them, and it's based on their schedule. I mean, Ohio State, their schedule only the 37th toughest in the country right now, as rated by Jeff Sagrin. Indiana coming in even lower at 56. Ohio State missed a lot of they obviously hadn't played Indiana. They'll play them Saturday night, but they also did Ohio State. They missed Oregon on their schedule, USC, Iowa. They didn't play some of those upper echelon Big Ten teams. So they only really played one competitive game into the fourth quarter. That was their opener against Texas, defeated the Longhorns 14-7. Ohio State pretty much controlled that game from the start, led 14-0 there in the second half. Texas scores a touchdown to bring it to 14-7, and Texas actually had the ball at midfield with 2 minutes to go. So that was a tight game. But other than that, in their other 11 games, Ohio State has had no one play them any closer than 18 points. Michigan did it this past weekend at the Big House, and then earlier in the year, Washington did it on their home field there at Husky Stadium. And Ohio State, part of it is the schedule, but probably most of it's just they're that good. And you mentioned their defense, and they are really good on defense, only giving up 8.5 points per game in the regular season through 12 games, only 206 yards a game, less than 4 yards of play allowed. They give up 3.7 yards per play. I don't remember anybody giving up that little in recent times. So that's a great defense. But this Indiana team, they've really shown themselves the last couple of years. I was kind of a naysayer last year with Kirk Cignetti, and they didn't play their best against Notre Dame and earlier in the late regular season against Ohio State last year. But I think this is a better Indiana team. We've seen them on the road. We saw them go to Autzen Stadium. They maybe didn't dominate the Ducks, but they were clearly the better team on that day. Defeated Oregon 30-20 on the road, one of the toughest environments in all of college football. I like Indiana plus 4.5 to play a close one against Ohio State Saturday night in Indianapolis.
Wow, can you imagine that? And maybe even winning, and maybe even potentially getting the Heisman Trophy Award. What a season for Indiana it would be if all that happened. Paul, enjoy the games this week. There are the odds on Mendoza. We will catch you next week and get ahead of some of the college football playoff matchups. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
Take a look at it, you say, all right, well, can they do this? But the one thing I know, Every year, I love the SEC championship game. Like this year, we're going to get a pretty good treat in the Big Ten because you have Indiana and Ohio State. But every single year, it's never like I don't have to watch that. Because the reason I bring that up is there's a game that's going to be on 8 o'clock that probably should just be played at midnight or 1 a.m. The ACC championship game. Like, things are not the same.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Splash Brothers? How about the Curry Brothers? Curry Brothers have been reunited, folks, as Seth Curry has signed for the rest of the year, according to Shams Charania. This is a good sign for a Warriors team for what they need off the bench. Coming off a career year where he shot 45.6% from three. He is a career 43.3% shooter from three-point range.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Nobody bats 300 anymore because the value of hitting a fly ball, which could eventually become a home run, is so much more valuable. It's when the shift in the NBA went from 2-pointers to 3-pointers. Well, if I can make 40% of my threes, I'm just going to jack threes all over the place. There's more value in that. Well, there's more value in just like ripping driver most of the time.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Always great to have Daniel Wallach in the house covering sports betting and news and everything surrounding it. It's great to have him back here on NewsWire contributing to the show. And Dan, thanks for coming on the program. Really appreciate it. And certainly we got a lot to cover here on the show. Let's get right to it. You have been covering on your podcast and certainly on social media this whole prediction market story, which has been the biggest story in our space in 2025. The National Football League finally being asked about it. Roger Goodell saying that they don't plan on partnering up with the prediction markets, Kalshi, Polymarket, Crypto.com. I don't know, Dan, it kind of feels inevitable here at this point, unless there's going to be some sort of regulation, and they're operating in California, where they got a bunch of NFL teams, and Texas, where they got a bunch of NFL teams. Wouldn't you think that this could be coming to pass soon?
There's a higher authority, Craig, than all of us. And by the way, it's a pleasure to be back on. The highest authority will be the courts, and the courts will determine whether this has any enduring power or not. I mean, this all stems from the question that Congress, when it enacted these amendments to the Commodities Exchange Act, did Congress intend to create a sports gambling framework at the same time that it had a sports betting prohibition in place through PASPA and the Wire Act? And just because these prediction markets are funded by some big Wall Street and Silicon Valley companies, and because the Trump administration may be standing behind it, this is not a dictatorship, and we're not yet in a banana republic, and we have an independent federal judiciary with judges appointed for life that are deciding the question right now. It's percolating in the lower courts, but the federal courts will determine ultimately whether sports prediction markets are built to last. And the cases are not going very well right now for Kalshi, Robinhood, and Crypto.com. The last 4 federal decisions have rejected this federal preemption argument that Kalshi has asserted in every court case. And we could talk about the NFL too. You know, the NFL has some misgivings about prediction markets because there are no sports integrity guidelines under the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. It is essentially these companies self-certifying event contracts and self-regulating themselves with some superficial CFTC regulations, none of which apply to sports betting. And I think that's where the NFL draws the line. It wants to have ultimately a federal framework, but not a federal framework like this without any sports integrity guardrails like the state legalized framework has. So they're willing to participate at some point if there are regulations, but those regulations will not come to pass unless and until the federal courts definitively decide the issue, and that could be a year or two away.
Fascinating stuff there. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, there is some pushback on Kalshi, Robinhood, Crypto.com on a state-by-state basis. It's not all of them. Dan, it does appear that Connecticut is one of those states that seemingly wants to have the courts weigh in, and until they do, they're issuing a cease and desist letter. I know that Kalshi has fought back in particular on some of these. Do you anticipate that happening here?
They have already fought back. Kalshi filed a federal court lawsuit late last night, within a few hours, or within at least a day of the cease and desist letter being issued, because the danger is Connecticut demanded that Kalshi, Robinhood, and Crypto.com immediately cease and desist their event contract activities within Connecticut. And every day, every hour that Kalshi doesn't run to court, there's potential exposure under Connecticut civil and criminal laws, and the penalties for violating state anti-gambling laws is very severe. There could be individual liability on the officers, and each transaction could carry a civil penalty, which could amount to 9 figures. So, of course, Kalshi's response is the same that they have invoked in every other cease and desist letter. When they get hit with one of those letters, they run into court right away and try to frame the narrative around this argument of federal preemption, because if they lose the race to the courthouse and the states file first in state court, the question then becomes whether these contracts are legal under state law, which is a much more disadvantageous situation to be in for Kalshi. So Kalshi's successes initially in the federal courts stemmed from the fact that they won the races to the courthouse. But even today, with the trend going decisively in favor of the states, with 2 Nevada court rulings, a Maryland court ruling, and a Massachusetts federal ruling, I think increasingly the federal courts are giving a thumbs down to Kalshi's premise that there's federal preemption over state anti-gambling and state sports betting laws. So the battle is going to be waged in the federal courts around the country, and as states continue to win these preliminary battles, it may draw more states like Connecticut into the fray, because now if you're New Hampshire, if you're Pennsylvania, why wouldn't you issue a cease and desist letter if the states are winning these battles?
And in Massachusetts, a very similar story progressing here, Dan, is that correct?
With one critical difference. That is the only forum in which the state sued first and brought it in state court under state law on the Commonwealth's own motion for a preliminary injunction. And Massachusetts won the battle of the venues there, because Kalshi tried to remove it to federal court. Massachusetts filed a quick motion to remand, and the federal court sent it back to state court on the basis that there was no complete federal preemption. So now this is the equivalent of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts playing the home opener in Fenway Park with a state court judge applying state law, and not undoubtedly, but I would say there's a 99% likelihood that the Superior Court judge on Tuesday morning will ultimately rule in favor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which could make Massachusetts the first state in the entire country where Kalshi has to pull its sports event contracts. And Kalshi is claiming, well, they can't do it. It would irreparably harm them. So they may lose this battle, and it could have a cascading effect around the country in other pending federal cases.
Okay. Give us an update in New York. I know a big hearing coming up on the 15th.
The New York State Attorney General was sued by Kalshi. Similar situation to Connecticut and Massachusetts, actually similar to Connecticut. Cease and desist letter. Within 5 hours, Kalshi ran to federal court. The hearing on the motion for a preliminary injunction filed by Kalshi will be tentatively held the week of December 15th. And in a major development yesterday, a coalition of Native American tribes filed an amicus brief in support of the New York Attorney General's legal position to push back against Kalshi's request for a preliminary injunction. The tribes are undefeated, 3-0, when they're amici curiae in all these national court cases. Their briefs have made a seismic difference in how these cases turn out.
Thanks, Dan. Have a great weekend.
Have a great one too, Craig. Thanks. That was.
just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, it was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Don't forget, you can catch some great programming coming up this weekend as we get you ready for all the college and pro football action. It's our in-game live, and naturally all of our programming during game time decisions helps you become a smarter bettor and also gives you the very latest in terms of updated odds and our fantasy content all weekend long here. We approach the end of the NFL season. It's kind of crazy to say. All right, coming up next, Brady Cannon will interview the Senior Vice President of Strategic Communications for the American Gaming Association. His name is Joe Malone. It's time to learn a lot more as to what's going on in the future at G2E. In case you missed our programming back in October, here's a quick interview regarding that. And then we'll bring Brady back and talk some contest plays, super contest circa as well. So here's a quick interview, again, with the AGA Senior Vice President, Strategic of Communications, Joe Malone. Take a listen.
G2E, the Global Gaming Expo, presented by the American Gaming Association, the AGA. And who do we have with us now? None other than Joe Maloney. He is the Senior Vice President of Strategic Communications for the American Gaming Association. He was kind enough to join us last year. He's back for more. He can't get enough SportsGrid. Welcome back, Joe. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
And not only that, join the set on Radio Row.
They have a bigger G2E, the Global Gaming Expo. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
And not only that, join the set on Radio Row at the Super Bowl last year in New Orleans. So I'm a big SportsGrid aficionado. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me back.
A 3-time offender, Mr. Maloney.
That's right.
Good to see you. For those of the audience that did not catch either your appearance on Radio Row, what have you, last year, tell us exactly what the Senior Vice President of Strategic Communications does for the AGA.
Great. So first of all, American Gaming Association, we are in partnership with Reed Exhibitions to put on this fantastic show, Global Gaming Expo. We are the industry trade group for legal regulated gaming. So we represent large casino operators, we represent sportsbook operators, and we represent the ecosystem of vendors and suppliers that support the casino gaming and sports betting industry. So that can be everything down to a tech stack to help launch your sportsbook in a retail or an in-app type of setting, to payment processors that work with casinos and online casinos and companies invested in creating frictionless type gaming. So we represent the entire ecosystem of legal regulated gaming. To be a member of the AGA,
like we are,
to be a member, in most instances, we're talking about companies that are licensed to operate and to basically provide gaming in jurisdictions, throughout the country and in some instances throughout the world. So our job as a trade group is really mainly advocacy and putting on the show. What does that mean, advocacy? We represent the industry in state capitals. We represent the industry on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We represent the industry before the White House. We help protect and promote legal, regulated gaming.
So strategic communications, what is that part of the AGA? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I lead the association's communications efforts. So that's everything from media relations to, creating messaging to sort of help guide us pursuant to our public policy objectives. I also oversee our research efforts. So that's just creating all of the data to help people understand the scope and the expansiveness of legal regulated gaming down to the pennies in revenue, right? And then lastly, also oversee our marketing, so ensuring that the AGA as a brand is remaining relevant and in front of our key stakeholders within the gaming industry. And G2E is a really great demonstration of the strength of our marketing team in terms of putting the AGA brand out there and letting people know who we are and what we stand for.
Cool, I like it. Great answer. It sounds like a fun job.
It's a super fun job. I like to say there's a lot of sleepy trade association jobs. There's a trade association for everyone and everything, right? There's the broadcasters group that represents broadcasters. Sure. There's the cable association represents cable companies. There's probably a librarian
and they all have a convention in Vegas, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They do. And that helps Vegas a lot. You're right. This is not a sleepy trade association job.
No.
Especially given the dramatic expansion of legalized wagering.
Right.
What that has brought forward is, of course, amazing growth for this industry, as demonstrated here in the excitement you feel on the trade show floor. But it's brought some scrutiny, right? It's brought scrutiny from elected officials, it's brought scrutiny from regulators, and it's brought scrutiny from the media. And that's really my biggest stakeholder, is the media. And ensuring that our trade media have the opportunity to report on us and the good work that we do, and national media that come into this issue maybe because they're seeing advertisements, or maybe because they're reading about potential growth or expansion or legalization in their community. They're going to come to us for information, and we've got to be the one-stop resource. It upholds the rights of states, and it upholds the rights of tribal nations to determine when, where, and how gaming operates. That's been the huge focus this year. We're working really hard on that issue. It's a big topic of conversation here on the show floor, but there's so much more to what we do. But that's the big thing we've been working on.
Just can't quit Josh Allen. He's at a 16% chance. And then the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh, don't count Lamar out. The Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen. And then there's those Kansas City Chiefs. But I got to tell you, Joe, you see how we're going lower and lower on this list right here? I'm telling you, a nice little wild card down there. You plunk $100 back and get paid $1,429 back on the Houston Texans.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You've got an 18-1-6 hockey team. You've got a 10-2 football team. So the best record in hockey, the best record in football, and top 5 in the NBA with Jokic and the gang, and the Nuggets at 14-6. And I'm saying to myself, what other town comes close to that?
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, it was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those 2 games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on Sports Grid. As we close in on the end of the season and contest season, we bring in Brady Cannon for the very latest of the Circa Sports Million and the Super Contest. And of course, you can catch the contest show coming up this weekend. As always, Brady, great to have you back here on NewsWire. And my gosh, do we have a lot to cover on this week's show? We're going to get to the Survivor here in a minute, but first, let's take care of the contest show where basically through 13 weeks, I think the most selected teams, the consensus has been over 500, I believe 3 times. I'm not sure. It may have been 4, but this week, another losing week. Texans, Buccaneers, Titans, Browns, and Chiefs. So 2 and 3 again in the losing field for the consensus. Fading has worked most of the season, and it probably would have worked again this week.
Yeah, you're hitting about 60% if all you do is fade the consensus every week. And what some people don't understand is, how am I going to know the consensus? Well, you can't necessarily know the consensus before you make your contest picks, but those contest picks come out, Saturday evening, Sunday morning before the actual game starts. So for contest selections, no, you can only guess what the consensus is going to be. But for your personal bets, you can absolutely jump in and fade the consensus. And boy, would you be having a fantastic year in the NFL right now.
Yeah, definitely so. So week 14 is here, and this is the big story from the contest. The Thanksgiving games that you had to pick, the Black Friday game that some people picked, the Survivor entries are down to the wire here. Thanksgiving was carnage. Black Friday was carnage. Everybody lost. Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Eagles, 0 for 4 on all the favorites, 0 for 4 on covering. And so now we have a full view, Brady, as to who could end up taking all of this money in the end. I believe we're down to less than 100 entrants. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. The Thanksgiving gauntlet does it again. Now, I'll start with the Super Contest Survivor, where they do not have the unique holiday weeks. They are down to just 3 entries themselves over at the Westgate. 2 people were on the 49ers last week, and 1 entry was on the Cowboys. So we have 3 entries that have survived in the Super Contest Survivor that will make it on to week 14. Now, Circa, a totally different animal here. They have let's call it 13A and 13B. You have to make a selection from the 4 games on Thanksgiving, the 3 on Thursday, the 1 on Friday. And if you survive that, then you have to make yet another selection from the Sunday slate, week 13B, if you will. And like you referenced, 13A took out 850 people. There were almost 900 entries alive, 898 entries alive going into Thanksgiving. And after Thursday, where the Lions, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Eagles all lost outright, you were down to 49 people. And that's with $18.7 million on the line. I mean, it is just absolutely brutal. And what's crazy, Craig, flip over to Circa Grandissimo, right? The $100,000 entry Survivor contest at Circa, where the same unique Thanksgiving rules apply. There were 6 people going into the Thanksgiving holiday. 3 of them lost with the Ravens. We were down to 3 people. They were all on the Eagles. They all lost. Contest over. That's it. The 6 remaining entries split $6.9 million. So what a way to quote unquote win after losing. Yeah, I mean, these contests are never short of drama. Just amazing. So now going into week 14, Circa Survivor, 44 entries remain. Only 4 were eliminated on that Sunday with the Rams losing. But I tell you, Craig, this now gets really crazy. Week 14, the biggest favorites, the Ravens, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Buccaneers, the Broncos, the Rams. There's only a handful of people that have all these teams left, except for the Buccaneers. Of a remaining 44 entries, 38 have the Buccaneers. I think that is going to be your most popular pick in week 14.
Yeah, definitely so. So we'll look for the Bucks to be on the line this week. How about college football and the Super Contest as that comes down to the wire?
Yeah, I think it's over. I didn't even check, but I want to say
it ended this week.
Down. Last week, because Now you've only got, 10 games or so.
Right.
Our friend Paul Stone did not win it. Our friend Chris Felica did not win it. I do not know who the person was that won, but I believe that ended on the Thanksgiving weekend. And I think an entry by the name of Play It Down was your champion. But that was the very first year of the Super Contest College. I thought it was great. It's great to have a college contest. I'm going to suggest to my friend John Murray, who's the vice president of race and sports at the Super Contest, that they implement some of the mini contests like the pro ones have, the quarterlies. And because the college, I was kind of out of it with about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks left to go. And there's no real other chance to get back in it. So that's what those mini contests are great for. So we'll see, first year, so far, so good. We'll see if we can improve upon it in year 2.
Just to hammer it home here with the Super Contest, and I know that you're still making picks, and these mini contests are still alive for that. Is anybody going to hit 60% to win this thing? No, right?
Well, it would have to be 70%, really, and I do believe your leaders are close to 70. That's really become the standard. 70% will win you a contest. 60% these days, with so many entries, sometimes 60% doesn't even get you in the cash. You're going to be close with 60%, but to win the whole darn thing, you really have to be probably 68 minimum, 69 or 70. Now, knock on wood here, Craig, I encourage the viewers and the listeners to pay attention to the football contest show. Again, whether it's your contest picks or your personal bets, the last 5 weeks, we've been hitting 68% in the Super Contest. So we have put ourselves in position to, if we can continue on that type of pace, we're going to find ourselves in some money one way or another, whether it be the overall contest or a mini contest or both.
All right. Interestingly enough. Okay, we're going to go over the full slate of games with Brady, but let's just take care of Thursday Night Football now while we have you here, and then we'll break and come back and do the Sunday slate. Generally speaking, for the contest, as Brady has stated many times, I don't believe that his team has used Thursday night at all, but certainly he can have an opinion on the game. The Lions are 3-point favorites over the Cowboys, a total 54.5. Very rare that I would say this on a show, and watching as much football as I do, my gosh, both college and pro. It feels to me, Brady, like maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown is the most valuable receiver to his team in the NFL. It feels like the Lions do nothing without this guy. I mean, there's a lot of other receivers in the NFL that are great and elite, but the second he went down, it felt like the offense went to nothing. But I don't love Dallas ever, and they always tease me, and just when I think that they're back, they fall apart. 54.5 tonight is the total. Any opinion on this one?
Yeah, I originally made the line 2.5. I was off of, the 3 a little bit, actually opened 3.5 in some spots. And I understand taking the hook there with the Cowboys. When I ran my first set of numbers, I came out to Detroit -9. Detroit is still a great football team. They are just a total victim of injuries. And you mentioned Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's so important. Sam Laporta. I mean, those are probably the most 2 important receivers they have. And they're both out. We expect that St. Brown will not play this evening. They have injuries on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow couldn't come back out of retirement, didn't pass a physical. They have injuries in the secondary. I tell you what, though, all that said, I might bet Detroit. No, we're not going to use them in the contest. We don't play Thursday games because you have to submit your entire card. But I might be on Detroit. I think this is a pretty classic buy low, sell high. The stock couldn't be much higher on the Cowboys right now, and the sky is falling in Detroit. Would be a good opportunity to bet the Lions.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back with Brady Cannon as we review Sunday's NFL slate right here on NewsWire. As we take a quick timeout on this Thursday, keep it locked right here. We'll have more right after this.
You're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, I don't. That's it. Yeah, I don't want you to get a read. I think.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The New England Patriots with Drake May, the Indianapolis Colts, who haven't had like recent success, maybe not so young, but not, they haven't had playoff success.
Right.
The Jags, it's a very fresh playoff picture, so to speak. The Chargers hanging on right now to that 5. And Kansas City, Scott, they're going to need to beat the Houston Texans on Sunday night. Now it's real.
Yeah.
They lose this game, they're not making the playoffs.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave.
Yep.
He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts, those two games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
As we round out the slate of games in the National Football League, let's bring back Brady Cannon. You can catch his football contest show this weekend exclusively here on SportsGrid. Brady, let's take a look at some of the games, some interesting, not as much on some others, but they're all fun to watch, of course, especially sports bettors. Titans and Browns this weekend. Woof. 33.5? No, this can't be right. 33.5 in an NFL game? Has there been a lower game than this? I mean, maybe when it was in Cleveland and that crazy wind and snow was going on, I think it may have been 30. But Tennessee's offense is horrible. Cleveland can't score. Is there a path to an over here? What do you make of this game?
I believe it was our friend Evan Abrams on Twitter mentioned that this is the lowest total of the season so far, and maybe in a couple seasons. I can't remember exactly the timeline, but obviously it's a low one. And it's not necessarily just weather; it's basically ineptitude, of these two teams. Shadur Sanders loses in his home debut there to San Francisco. I think this actually could be a spot that maybe the Titans will get win number 2 on the year. The Browns are experiencing a lot of injury on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Obviously, Myles Garrett, God, what a player, man. This guy's absolutely incredible. But he's losing some of his pieces around him on that defensive line, and the offensive line is getting banged up as well. The Tennessee defense is okay. That's the better part of their team, the better side of the ball. And they may be able to get after Sanders, sack him. There's not many opportunities for this Titans team to get a victory. And I think they understand that this is one of them. And the bottom line is, Craig, do you want to really back the Browns as a favorite against anyone? Probably not. I'd probably take the points here.
I agree. Okay, so let's do this one. This is always a fun rivalry game because you never know which team is going to win, no matter how good one team is or how bad the other team is. It's the Dolphins taking on the Jets. Miami 3-point favorites, total of 41.5. And Brady, the Dolphins have now won several games to put them back into a position that they show up in this graphic that says in the hunt when we know they're really not. And Miami, by the way, did not play well against the Saints last week. Not to say that the Jets play well almost ever, but that's kind of the deal here. Total 41.5. I don't know. I mean, something is weird about this line here. Like, why are the Dolphins 3-point favorites? Did they not watch the game against New Orleans last week? New Orleans, by the way, had they not gone for a 2-point conversion at the end that was returned for a touchdown, could have kicked the field goal and won the game in the end.
Yeah. New Orleans covered the number, that's for sure. It's kind of weird that both of these teams come in off of a win. right? The Jets with a nice win over the Falcons as a home dog. Again, there's another situation. Can you trust the Atlanta Falcons as a road favorite? Can you trust the Miami Dolphins as a road favorite? You got to tip your hat to both of these teams a little bit. I think they've really changed the culture. McDaniel, we remember, was absolutely on the hot seat, the hottest of all hot seats. And we saw the arguing on the sidelines with the coaches. I think things have really changed there, and they've made everybody better. The players, the coaches, they've kind of owned it, and they quit worrying about their jobs, and they started to worry about winning football games. Achane has really become the focal point of this offense. It's not so much Tua and Waddle and that type of thing. They're really running the ball, and that is a weakness for the Jets. But, Aaron Glenn has started to turn things around as well for New York. They've won a few games, and they play with heart. When I made the number originally, I thought it would be a pick 'em. Then I run some stats. I do come out with Miami by 3. The Jets have not been good in division for, gosh, how many years in a row? So I think that favors Miami. But again, you have to ask yourself, do you want to lay 3 points on the road with the Dolphins? This is probably a pass for me, Craig.
Fair enough. Okay, so now let's talk rock bottom. Minnesota Vikings. Their season is over.
Oof.
They had the single worst play overall at quarterback almost in the history of the NFL with Max Brosmer last week. So they'll turn back to J.J. McCarthy this week. And, Washington isn't good either. They're just having one of these anonymous seasons where they're going to win 5-6 games. I bet Washington next year, by the way, will be back and be much better. 42.5 is the total here. I mean, can McCarthy can't play worse than he did 2 weeks ago. And I would guess he can't play worse than Brosmer did this past week. But I think both teams are horrendous here. And I know that Washington showed a little bit last week, and I'm guessing that's why the line is only 1.5 here. But I can't back the Vikings after what I'm seeing. What a disaster offensively they are.
I made the number 1 in favor of Washington. And then when I crunch some numbers, I come out with Minnesota by a 0.5 point. I mean, it's right there. It's a toss-up. It's hard to make either team a favorite in this game. You're right. They're both bad. And you're also right. You kind of expected some regression for Washington after completely exceeding expectations last year. And now, expectations are low, and they probably should improve again next year. There's a lot of talent there. I think the coaching is good. The coaching is great with Minnesota, but I don't think J.J. McCarthy is a good quarterback. I'm not sure if he ever will be. Now, Brosmer, that's a whole different story. I'll tell you one angle, though, I like in this game, and I may be betting Minnesota. They're very good at home. They do have a very solid home field advantage, do the Vikings. And Dan Quinn, the coach of the Commanders, is excellent in division. And next week they have a division game. I think it's the Giants, if I recall. The week prior to a division game, he's awful. So he puts so much focus, theorizing here, he puts so much focus on division games where he really does well that sometimes it supersedes what he's doing the week before. It's just what the track record shows.
Right.
He's poor the week before a division game, great in that division game. And I feel like Minnesota should be able to get it done here because I was on Washington last week, coming out of a bye week after having lost 6 in a row, taking on a team that went into their bye week having won 8 in a row in the Broncos. I felt that was kind of the Super Bowl for Washington. On national TV, they had to show up in that spot. They did. They nearly won the game. Now I think it's back to reality, and this team is not very good. They're decimated by injury, yada, yada, yada. I'll probably take the Vikings here. Haven't made a bet yet, but I just might.
All right. Brady, great stuff as always. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week here on NewsWire. Thanks again.
Sounds great, Craig. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick timeout. When we come back next, a couple of quick notes from baseball. So stay with us here on Sports Grid. Last Licks is up next. Don't go away.
Now you're a 1 o'clock guy again, huh?
Well, I didn't know I have to appease you.
What do you mean appease me? I'm trying to get a read on you.
Well, I don't. That's it. I don't want you to get a read. I said.
Okay.
What are you? You're on me like flies on rice.
Well, I once watched you destroy an NFL team's season because you zagged so hard in the best bet segment.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The New England Patriots with Drake May, the Indianapolis Colts, who haven't had like recent success, maybe not so young, but not, they haven't had playoff success.
Right.
The Jags, it's a very fresh playoff picture, so to speak. The Chargers hanging on right now to that 5. And Kansas City, Scott, they're going to need to beat the Houston Texans on Sunday night. Now it's real.
Yeah.
If they lose this game, they're not making the playoffs.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Ole Miss got left at the altar, and Ole Miss decided, I'm either going to let her continue to embarrass me, or I'm going to have some self-respect and kick her ass out the door and lock it behind her and not let her back in. And that, for me, is the right thing to do. Lane Kiffin had the right to leave. Yep. He chose to leave. I wish you the best of luck. Not really.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's stunning to think that, right? And I had the over on the win total, or going into the year with the Patriots, was 8.5. I thought they could win 10 games. They've already won 10 games. And that is a stunning turnaround, to go from worst to first here. And they're not the only team that could do it. The Jaguars could do it too. They are right on that precipice here if they handle their business against the Titans the next couple weeks and, at least split between the Indianapolis Colts those two games.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. ESPN says Jalen Carter, great defensive player for the Philadelphia Eagles, is going to be out on Monday night. He's having treatment on shoulder issues. One of the great defensive players on the Eagles missing Monday night's game. We'll see what happens with the Eagles when they take on the Chargers. And also, we don't know if Justin Herbert's going to play in that game as well. All right, as we get ready to wrap up the show, a couple of notes from Major League Baseball. You may have missed it yesterday. Cedric Mullins signed a one-year contract, $7 million with the Tampa Bay Rays. But that's not the topic of here on Last Licks. We'll talk Devin Williams, also a potential salary cap coming to baseball. And for those of you who are fans of holiday time claymation, you may like what the Kansas City Chiefs are up to. It's time now for some Last Lick. All right, very interesting podcast done by a former player, keep in mind, in Major League Baseball. Dave Roberts, as you may know, is, of course, the manager of the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers, but also was a very good player in Major League Baseball for a long time. Played, of course, in that Boston Red Sox team 2004, also played for Cleveland and San Diego, amongst other teams. Roberts very recently on a podcast was asked about the potential labor agreement or disagreement that we are headed for at the end of the 2025 Major League Baseball season. And Roberts alluded to the fact that he said that he'd be fine if there was a salary cap in Major League Baseball. Now, this is a point of very big discontent, of course, for the owners and the players as well. Keep in mind, Roberts, a former player, is now part of, you would say that the owners, because he is an employee of the Dodgers, which is naturally a part of the owners union. So, interesting to hear this from a former player. I don't know which way we are headed here as far as any potential lockouts. Yes, no, it'll be a very hot topic less than a year from now, and usually about like as soon as the baseball season ends, 8-9 months from now. If they can't come to some sort of agreement on some salary structure or a competitive balance, then that's where we could be headed. As far as I know, I don't have any clue as to what will happen one way or the other here. But Roberts, to make those comments, tells you some people do feel that there is the need for a cap and maybe even a salary floor in Major League Baseball. All right, story for another day. Let's get to Devin Williams, who's now a member of the New York Yankees. Interestingly enough, people on social media go to these players' accounts and message them. Why anybody would do this, I literally have no idea. This is not the same as egging somebody's house. I get it. But what would possess you to go to somebody's social media and message them? Apparently, it has happened to Devin Williams, who signed a 3-year contract and is now going to play with the New York Mets. Apparently, a lot of folks did not think that he did a good job with the New York Yankees, and he did not deserve to get the contract that he did, because Williams himself went to social media and posted a message on Instagram saying, it's funny, basically, you guys didn't like me last time when I was with the Yankees. Maybe you want to stay out of my direct messages in the future. Williams did not have his best season with the Yankees. I'm sure that he would tell you that he did not have his best season with the Yankees, but it did lead to a 3-year contract with the Mets. I thought he'd get a 1-year deal, maybe 2. Ended up getting 3. We'll wrap it up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you a big fan of claymation? Do you know what claymation is? Those old-time videos, Frosty the Snowman. You know that video that's that movie that's been around since I was a kid, 70s, 80s, where they use like clay figurines to tell the story? Well, yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs put out a teaser video that they are doing the same thing during the holiday season. It actually looks pretty cool. It has Andy Reid in it. It has Xavier Worthy in it. It has Patrick Mahomes. And it also has Travis Kelce. But the best part about it is that the narrator of this sort of claymation, think now Frosty the Snowman, which I'm sure you've seen, kind of movie, is Travis Kelce's mom, Donna Kelce, is the actual narrator of this video, which is set to come out, if I'm not mistaken, next week. They posted the teaser, which you can watch on social media, the Kansas City Chiefs account, so it's endorsed by them. Really cool idea, and very well done, at least from the teaser that I saw. Thanks again to our great guests who appeared on the show with us today. They include Carlin Gay from Sporting News. Also, Paul Stone was on the show with us as well. And also, don't forget about Brady Cannon, who did a great job breaking down all of the contests. And you can catch his contest show exclusively here on SportsGrid as well. We got Thursday Night Football coming up. Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. Right now, current line on FanDuel sits with the Lions as 3-point favorites on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Total of 54.5. It's the first of many games in the NFL coming up this weekend. Thanks again to our director, Luke. For my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy your Thursday afternoon and Thursday night here on SportsGrid. I'll see you back here for our Friday edition of the show tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day, everyone. See you then.
When LeBron James decides he's retiring, it is coming with trumpets blaring, Adam Silver by his side, and he is going on a state-by-state, coast-to-coast tour so that everyone can acknowledge how great he was and give him a parting gift and thank him for his amazing contributions to the NBA.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The future of the prediction markets, I think, at least for now, may be in the hands of the federal courts. But the good news for those who support prediction markets is that these court battles may last for another 2 to 3 years before we get clarity around the law. And nominee Selig was handpicked by Donald Trump, not because he was neutral on prediction markets, but because he would do nothing to slow it down.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
He's the fan favorite. They love talking about Stafford, the 38-year-old guy. He's the Super Bowl champ. We got the family. Any opportunity to pump McVay and Stafford as a team, they do that. They love this team. They loved Aaron Donald, and rightfully so. Best defensive player, but they love to pump up Stafford.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here.